What is going on, everyone? Welcome to another episode of Running with Friends. Today, I have the pleasure of talking to my good friend, Steve Lazar, also known as Running Man Steve, back at it again with another video. What is going on, brother? How you doing?
Yes, sir. Thank you so much. I'm so glad to be here.
Yeah, man. So let's get right to it. First, I want to ask you, how long have you been running for?
So I started running towards the end of my junior year in high school. And for anybody who doesn't know me for reference, I'm going to be a junior in college now. So it hasn't been a ridiculously long time. So I guess this would be, I guess, my fourth year. And I started in my junior year towards the end because actually when I was playing basketball, I ended up getting cut from the team. And then I was thinking for spring, I was like, wow, what can I do? And I was like, I'm not like a bad long distance runner when we like ran miles and stuff. And it was funny because my dad kept pushing me towards like, oh, go play lacrosse. You'd be good at that. I was like, you know what, Dad, I'm going to give this running thing a shot. So I ended up going ahead and basically trying out for the team and like running and meeting everybody. And then I wouldn't even ever guess that I even would have ran like more than that. Like I always thought like a mile or there's 2 miles was a lot, but I ended up with it and I ended up really getting like sucked into the running world, if you will.
Yeah, so pretty much you're like relatively new to the sport, you would say, because I mean, there's a lot of kids that like start running from middle school. There's like a lot of kids that start from like their freshman year of high school. Like starting it from junior year and like to accomplish some of the things you've accomplished is pretty impressive. And I feel like a lot of that you can like give credit to the fact that you've always been surrounded by like good running communities. Like, I mean, for those of you who don't know, you went to Coral Reef High School, a very rich school when it comes to running history. I mean, you're talking about Kirk Convey, you're talking about Colin Berryhill, Derwin Moultrie, Cam Berryhill. You're talking about Austin Redondo. Like those are all guys who came
Sure.
came straight from Coral Reef, who you've had the pleasure of running with, who you have the pleasure of running with over the summers as well. I mean Hunter Dobbs. Like there's so many guys I can name. I don't really want to forget anyone because if they listen to this, they're gonna text me and be like, "Yo, you forgot about me." But you know what I mean though. Like you were lucky to be part of join a team your junior year that was full of like great runners, great guys who are like super motivated even to this day, guys who like to push each other. I mean, guys who like to roast. Like I mean, if you get dropped, you're gonna get roasted, and sometimes that pushes you to not get dropped. So tell me about that experience, like when you first joined, like when you first made that transition from basketball to running track, and then like joining that team and like meeting some of those guys.
So at first, I ended up really enjoying it because I was able to go out and then in basketball. A lot of the times, even if you are one of the best players on the team, you're never going to be out on the court all the time, and you do spend even most of the game like going down and just sitting. And it got to the point where that I was in running. I was like, this is so cool. Like I get to really go and like fully participate. And in basketball, I felt like I wasn't like, especially during like game day or anything, even though I love the sport, don't get me wrong, I just wasn't really pushing myself, and there was no really like reason to push. Like you'd be on the bench a lot, and there would be some games, especially like in high school, because there's a lot of really good players, where I'd come out and I'd even at the end of the game be fresh, and I was like, did I even really do much today? Did I accomplish much? Whereas with running, it was like the other way around. I would go out and be like always participating, and then I'd feel like so accomplished and so motivated after like completing a run or everything. So there was a big like I guess juxtaposition between those two sports.
Yeah, so obviously like you did your 2 years in high school, and you move on to go to college to University of Central Florida in Orlando, and then you have the pleasure of joining another great running community, which is the Central Florida running community, which is where I'm from. I will always say Central Florida has the best running community, has the best people. Like it's crazy. Like that's the funny thing is like I lived in Florida for like pretty much like my whole life, and like I've been running since middle school, but I didn't really discover the Central Florida running community. I mean, I knew of the Central Florida running community, like the camaraderie between like athletes in high school, and like that friendship and like that mutual respect between athletes in high school, but I didn't know about like the older people who weren't in high school. Like the amount of people that run in Central Florida is crazy, and I was kind of introduced to that through Erica White, who used to be my old high school coach, who you ran with this morning. You run with her all the time. Like you've met Coach Amy, who I also used to be one of my coaches in high school. I mean, you have Juan. Like, there's so many people, like so many great people in Central Florida that run, and like from all levels to like top elite levels to like even people who like just do it for fun. Like it's just the fact like you surround yourself with like so many great people who like motivate you, who love the sport, who like do all the right things, like are always competitive, and like you've integrated yourself well in that running community. Because like I mean everyone tells like Coach White and Coach Amy are always like, oh, like, you know Running Man Steve? I'm like, yeah, like we know each other through like a mutual friend in Miami who used to be my teammate. They're like, oh, like we love Running Man Steve, and I'm like, yeah, like I've actually never met him, but like I know him through social media. Like he seems like a super cool kid, and we actually got the pleasure to run a couple times this summer. So tell me about that, transitioning from one great running community in Miami to then transitioning to another great running community in Central Florida, and like what the Central Florida running community means to you.
So it was pretty interesting. I thought in the Miami community, and I guess I could say this for most communities, a lot of what happens like downtown and like towards that area in a lot of communities in terms of just the normal running community in general. And it makes sense because that's where most of the people are. There's a bunch of things happening. So that's where they mostly reside. And in Miami, I didn't feel like I had that much. And the running communities, I'm finally starting to meet some a little bit, but before it was basically just all like the high school teams, which was cool. And we'd even go down and sometimes like see other high school teams on runs, like when I was in high school for like our long runs and stuff, and little community there, which is pretty cool. But it wasn't until I got into like UCF that I realized that these communities are actually like much bigger. People that are like different walks in running. There's people who have just started. There's people who've run for 10 plus years. There's people who are extremely fast. There's some who like to take it easy, and there's some going like super long, like doing marathons, and other people are training for like to run a fast 800. So it's really interesting to see that extra diversity that there is in running.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, that's the one thing I love about like Central Florida. It's like whatever you want to do, like whether you're like a beginner, whether you've been running for like 15 plus years, whether you want to run a fast mile or you want to run a 5K, 10K marathon, like there's always like you'll be able to find that group like that you can like, oh, like you guys want to train for marathons? Like, oh yeah, me too. Like let me join you guys and like just grind it out. So I mean, we could talk about the improvement you made. I mean, you ran like your PR was like 18 minutes coming out of high school, and then in just 1 year, like in a couple of years, like you've been able to bring that down to 16:30, and then you've done 10Ks, you've done half marathon, and you even did your first marathon and qualified for Boston, which unfortunately it got canceled, right? So
Yeah,
you weren't you weren't able to run that, but I'm sure in the future you'll qualify again and you'll be able to run that. So tell me about um was that the plan? Was the plan to qualify for Boston when you ran that marathon? It was your first one, so to qualify for Boston in your first marathon, like mad props to you. So going into that marathon, like training for that marathon and going into the marathon, was the plan to qualify for Boston? What was your training like? And tell me about the race and like how it played out and like how excited you were when you found out you've qualified for Boston.
So I am always a guy that, and I really believe to shoot for the stars. And then if you I believe the saying goes that when you shoot for the stars, like even when you miss, oh no, shoot for the moon, and even when you miss, you land amongst the stars. So I'm definitely a go-getter like that. So when I was going to set my goal, I actually set to go around like 240s, even though really in or 240s or high 230s, but in a marathon, you really shouldn't even like go out and set a goal to start because it's your first one. You really just want to go out and complete it. But I'm very goal driven, so I went with that, and maybe that did I should have been a little bit more relaxed with it and take out a little bit slower. And originally I did have a goal to break 3, but then once I got more confidence, I started setting higher goals, which I'm still, at the end of the day, I'm still happy for myself because I was able to get over that original goal of the really going across and breaking 3. And my original plan was to go run Boston, but unfortunately it might be canceled. But the good news with that is that everything has, like, when one door closes, another one opens. And what I'm also trying to do now is really get faster and kind of have, even though that I'm not on I don't run for a specific college, to still have that experience. So when I go and I can still develop into that like 5K, 10K speed. And then when it does come time for me to do marathons again, I can go across and I'll really have like all that speed developed, and I'll have a marathon already under my belt. So it won't be anything ridiculously new to me. And it makes sense for me to keep it a little bit shorter when I am a little bit younger, because these like with 5K PRs and 10K PRs, there's only so much time that you really have to go across and do it. Whereas with marathons, you can go do that in your 30s, late 40s, and still be in your prime. So it's basically all about prioritization, whatever you want to do. And this way, it just makes more sense, because then I can be able to do both. And I'm assuming, Jen, that you can also like be able to do both as well, like the way you're planning it out.
Yeah, of course. I mean, it makes sense, like taking advantage of our youth right now. Running the shorter stuff, because then once we get older, that shorter stuff will definitely be harder on our legs. When you're old, like running a 5K, trying to run a fast 5K, because I mean, people think like, oh, 5K is long distance, but like for guys like me and you who like are looking ahead to running half marathons or marathon, like the 5K might seem like a sprint. Like that's like for like a distance race, like, out of all the distance races, the 5K is kind of like on the shorter end of the spectrum, and it's actually quick. Like if you want to run fast, so like take like you said, like just taking advantage of the fact that we're young now, we can actually like go out and drop some PRs on those races. And I mean, I know right now you're actually planning on running a race coming up soon. Tell me about that.
Yeah, so I didn't even think there were any races for me to enter. I really looked around. A lot of the local things in Orlando, such as Track Shack, like they had canceled their races due to the volume of people that normally sign up. And I was a little discouraged, but I actually looked on Direct Athletics. And if you're an individual who wants to run any of these races, I highly suggest you do this. And I was able to find a couple races that were pretty close to where I live. I found this one, I think it's called the Florida Horse Park Invitational. It's something it's a course I've never ran before, but it seems like super nice. And as an individual and you don't even have to be in college, actually. I think the only requirement is that you're not in high school, and I think it's like 18 and over. But if you can hit those, you can go out and you can race with these other college teams. And then I think you can almost race like any college race you want, except for ones that have to go along with NCAAs and conferences and along those lines. But anything else, you could basically go up, and as long as you're ready to like go and toe up with the line, you can go up with any like Division I school and all of them. So even if you're an individual who, let's say, you didn't perform that well in high school, or you weren't like a superstar in high school, like you still have time. Like if you want to put the time and effort into something, and you really see that potential in yourself, you could still go and have a shot.
Yeah, no, of course. Like it's like I say, like as long as you grind it out, like anyone, it's like that's the beauty of the sport of running. It's like as long as you put in the work and you grind, like you can accomplish anything. Like you can set goals and like just grind out and like accomplish those goals. Like always, like if you try to find like a group to train with, like that's always helpful. Like it's like it's like a sport where it's like you don't need like many resources to like be a good runner. Like it's not like basketball or football where like, man, you need like basketballs and you need basketball shoes, you need a gym, like you need like maybe someone to rebound for you if you're putting up shots, or like football you need if you need someone to run routes, you need someone to pass you the ball. Like running, literally just you go out and buy a pair of shoes, buy some shorts, and then you're good to go. Like you can go out, run every day, and like build brick by brick and get better every day, which is what I love. Is like you pretty much you get out of running what you put in. So if you don't want to put in the work, you're not going to run fast, you're not going to perform. But if you're willing to sacrifice and put in the work and do the little things like stretch, roll, and like just do the right thing, like you'll see results. Whether you're on a college team or not, like it doesn't matter. Like anybody can be good at running as long as they put in the work. So obviously, I want to ask you about this one thing real quick. When was this? This was like August, like around this time last year, you attempted to break the Guinness World Record for fastest mile dribbling a basketball. You actually broke it. You ran like what 5:09 or something like that. Am I correct? Or
So I ended up hitting a 5:08.
yeah, so you're a 5:08. So did you do any specific training for that, or did you just go out that day and like that was your first ever attempt at like running a mile with a dribbling basketball? Like, I feel like you had to have practice. Like there's no way you just showed up that day and we're like, all right, I'm gonna run this mile, dribble the basketball, and see how fast I can go. Because I feel like that takes practice.
Yeah, so what had happened is that I did go and I practiced with the basketball a little bit, but not too terribly much. And it's funny because one day the Coral Reef team had practice and they just saw me with a basketball, like just running a mile with it. And they're like, what is this kid doing? Oh my goodness. And I was just kind of just like chilling with it and just really getting like, I didn't even go that fast. I was just getting the feel for it.
Yeah.
And like for reference, so what you would do is you'd be normally running, but with the basketball, you would be pushing it in front of yourself, kind of like you're going down the court, like one of those dribbles where you would push the ball in front of yourself and not necessarily keep it at your hip, because at that base you would like your center of mass would be in front of the ball and then it would fall backwards.
Yeah,
So
you might lose the ball.
yeah, so you'd keep it in front of you like you're going and let's say there's like 3 seconds left on the shot clock and you're like going and driving down like the court. Like that's the type of dribbling that was being done. And then as long as you don't put your hand and you don't what's called a carry in basketball, when you take your hand under the basketball, as long as you don't do that, any dribble you would make is pretty much legal and allowed.
So how did this come about? Did someone like suggest it to you? Did you just find it? Like did you see a video and you're like, oh, I feel like I can run faster than that? Like how did this come up?
Yeah, so I was one day, and this was last. I think this was last summer, early last summer, or the summer before this one, the previous one. And I was going across, and I saw like people dribbling a basketball for a whole marathon. I was like, wow, that's insane. And someone had a record that was like, I think they broke 3 doing that, which is ridiculous in itself. And I was like, oh, that's pretty cool. And then I came across someone that did a mile with the basketball, and I was like, oh, okay, I wonder what they got. And their time was only 6:57, and I was just thinking to myself, yo, if I like just train for speed and like how it was with summer and just train with the boys, like I can definitely like get right and build up that speed. And then all I would have to do is just learn how to dribble with the basketball, which I played basketball my whole life, so obviously I like dribble the basketball. So if I can just get like my running speed down and I just go out and do this, like that, like just one of my famous sayings that there ain't nothing to it but to do it. So I really just gotta go out and shoot my shot.
I like it. I think that's so funny and that's so cool. Like, just like that's the thing. That's the thing about running too. Like, you have to make it fun. Because I mean, I feel like you could agree with me. Running is not fun. Like going out and like running like a bunch of miles is not fun. But like if you make it fun, like if you make it enjoyable, like you find something to like incorporate something that like okay, like I even though I have to go out and run 8 miles today, but like, oh, like I'm gonna do it with some friends, or I'm gonna do this, or like I'm gonna go to this specific place and like run here. Like, just make it find something fun about it. Make it fun, because if you dread it, like it's not gonna be enjoyable. It's not an enjoyable sport. I mean, that's why everyone like in other sports when like their coaches are like, all right, we're running today, everyone like complains because running sucks. I mean, but like that's the thing. Like you doing stuff like that, like that's fun. Like that's enjoyable. Like that brings like a whole nother like dimension into like the sport of running that like makes it fun. So now another thing we're gonna talk about, your book. You're a published author, dude. Like what an honor to have you on my podcast. You
Yes,
just
sir.
recently published your book, Positively Powerful. I mean, you've been writing this book since you were 19 years old. Talk to me about that. What inspired you to start writing a book, first of all? The process of like publishing it, like, you know, you don't have to go into like super details, but you kind of like give us like an overview of how that went, and like just kind of like give us like a little preview of what's in the book. Like definitely check it out. I haven't started reading it yet, but I did get it on my Kindle. So then
Oh,
I just haven't had like much time, but like I'll definitely like look into it and like start reading it soon, because like I said, like I'm super supportive of like all my friends, and like the fact that you like went out, wrote a book, and like got it published, like I think that's so freaking awesome, and like mad respect to you. Like that's like to do it at such a young age, like it's super dope. So like yeah, just tell me a little bit about it.
yeah, thank you. So what had happened is that so this past summer, I guess I just caught myself consuming a lot of information, and I just like would always like go and consume. And I realized I was always like on that side of just consuming. And then I realized at one point I just had enough, and I was like, I want to see like when I realized that the creators in life are the ones who are like truly free, and they're the ones that are going to be happy because they're putting out their content and for basically the world to see. And I just thought, you know what, well, like, why don't I do like the same thing? And then my second thought was, I'm just a college student. What's the most cost effective thing that I can do and that I can just pull up right now? So basically what I did is I went through and I pulled out just a normal Google Docs, which anybody can like get this software. Literally, if you just have a Gmail account, you have access to all the Google Docs, Google Slides, Google Drive, everything else. And I went through, and then with the Google Docs, I just started like planning out the book, kind of like a little, like I called it a book map, but just a little overview. Like every chapter, I would make a chapter and then write some information, make another chapter, and then write what I was going to talk about. And then I would go ahead and just like keep doing that until I had sort of a format for the book. And then I decided to go ahead, and then I was like, you know what? I have everything together. I have the format. Let's just go ahead and start writing. So for the, I guess the first part, like while I was writing, I started doing it, and this was also during the year with school. And then in fall, I wasn't as consistent with writing. I would do some stuff here and there, and like try to really go out and do it. And then it would just help me really like get all my thoughts like on the paper. And it was really nice how I was working like when you're working like your body, and I guess your mind too with running. You also like start like really working.
Yeah, my bad. A freaking like huge lightning strike just hit over here, and my Wi-Fi just went out, so I just hopped on my phone's hotspot.
Yeah, don't worry, you're good. I just like saw when I talk, and I was like, "Oh, are you there?" Like you were like frozen in the
Yeah,
thing.
you froze, and I was like, oh man. No, it's all good. It'll save the audio from like the previous call, and then I'll just merge this one into it, and we'll be straight.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, so you were saying like during the fall you weren't like writing as much, and like just talking about that. Like you keep going on about that.
So in fall, I wasn't writing as much, and then once I saw that it was starting to come together in spring, I really went and I just decided to write basically every single day. And what I would do is that normally I have a journal of daily things I want to accomplish, and I would put just to tell me to write in there, and I would go across, and whether it was just a sentence, a paragraph, a page, just every day I would go and get something meaningful done and make some type of contribution to the book. And then it got to the point where if you just keep doing it every day, like your work starts compounding, and you just end up going and then finishing it. And I talk about that in the book a little bit as well, that if you like anything big that you accomplish is just a result of a bunch of little things happening. Yeah. And you're doing like a right. So everything, for example, like even like when people say in running, when you go and you get that PR, it's really not you don't really obtain it when you necessarily run it, although that sounds a little strange, but it's when you go ahead and like you're going to do these workouts every week, and when you stay consistent and you just put your mileage in. It's those little things. It's kind of goes along with that saying of where like you win the race in practice, and it goes along the
Yeah, of course. It does. It's not something like running a PR, like even writing a book. It's not something that happens overnight. It's like you said. It's like your work throughout every day just kind of compounds and like keeps adding up to the finished product. And it kind of makes sense. Like yeah, like it sounds kind of funny. Like oh, you don't run your PR when you race it, but it comes from the work. Like and then just trusting that work you put in and like going in and like executing. Which I mean, it's pretty much what you did. Like you said, you started writing every day and like. To the point where like you were able to publish that book, and like I bet that was like a great feeling for you.
Yeah, no, it definitely was like going out, and especially like when I published it, it's just that sense of accomplishment that like flowed through me. And when I was looking at it, I know I kind of say this jokingly, but it's like when you like someone looks at like their baby for the first time, like my whole like when I held my book, it just felt so amazing.
No, that's definitely something to like be proud of for sure. Like not many kids our age can say, "Oh yeah, like I wrote a book." Like that's definitely impressive. Mad respect for you, bro. And like, so like, how long did it? I mean, you said you've been writing it since 19, and you're what, like 21, 22 now?
So I just turned 21 in June. So
it was like a 3 year, pretty much like a 3 year process of writing.
It was actually a little bit less. So it was like right before. So I was 19, but it was right before I like turned 20. So it was a
Okay.
little bit around a year to a year and a half.
Yeah.
But that's the whole time I really took to go and get things together, and then finally go out and publish it on Amazon.
Yeah, but still, it's something that like a year and a half is not like it's not something that you just did in like 2 months. Like obviously, like you took your time, you took your time writing, you like put your thoughts together, and you deliver quality, which we can't expect nothing less from Running Man Steve.
Yes,
But
sir.
but yeah, dude, like that's definitely awesome. Like I when I heard about it, I was like, dude, like that's so cool. Like this man literally has his own book. Like it has your picture on the back of it and everything. Like that's so cool, dude. Like that's awesome. Like I was super happy for you when I heard about it. Like I reached out. I was like, yo, dude, like congrats. Like that's awesome. Like I shared it to people. Like I'll once I post a podcast, like I'm gonna add the link to my link tree so like people can go check it out as well. Cause like you gotta support each other in the running community, and like you're you're a great guy. Like you're always grinding. Like I love when like I'm on Instagram, I'm scrolling through stories, and then all of a sudden I hear that Running Man Steve back at it again with another video. Like we're always talking about you. The boys down in Miami always clowning you, man. Like them boys are always like, man, this man Steve always be trying to push the pace, always trying to drop us and stuff like that. Like,
They're just a Running Man Steve. That's what it is.
I know, right? Like that man Carter is just jealous. He knows to have his own book, bro. Like you can tell him I said that.
That's why. But it's funny with our friend group, especially sometimes when someone like pushes pace, or even when they like get dropped at the end. They will sometimes like mess with each other and everything, but it's always all in good fun, and we always like just care about like all of us getting better, really going out and succeeding. And then sometimes like it's really funny because we'll just be running, and sometimes someone will just go out and push the pace. And then when we get back and finish with the run, we're like, "Yo, who pushed it?" And then we'll try to like blame people for like whoever went the pace too hard.
So what are your plans coming up? I mean, I know how school. I don't know. Maybe you're full online. I know you have this race coming up soon, and then like, what are your plans in the future with running? Like, do you want to like keep? How long do you want to keep doing like shorter stuff like 5K, 10Ks? Like, when do you want to get back into like maybe running the marathon, half marathon again, stuff like that?
So in school, I actually do have some in-person classes, and I will say that UCF is not doing that. They're doing a pretty good job of keeping everybody separate, and I guess the best of job that they really can,
Yeah.
which I really appreciate, and that's actually super nice too. Because I never realized how like lucky I was even just to be back in school, because some people don't even have that opportunity, and so for the future, or at least from a running perspective, I do want to eventually get back into those marathons. But because that I am younger, I'd probably only do about maybe one per year as of now.
Yeah.
Or like I did plan to run Boston this year, but then after that, I was going to take maybe a year or two off from marathoning specifically, even though, of course, I would still do like some long mileage here and there, and especially like training for a half. Like I would still go a little bit long and still like keep it with me, but I don't know if I would necessarily go like fully into marathoning, how some people do 2, 3, 4 marathons a year,
Yeah.
because it just doesn't make any sense, because you can only grow, like you just really want to be able to grow that speed. And if I like switch to marathoning too early, it would be a little bit hard to really get that speed going. And I
Yeah.
even look elite guys, and I just know that like if I can push myself in basically college and get to the point where I can hit these like faster times with the shorter distances, then once I get to like that point where the people are averaging, like, which is insane, like close to like 5:20 to 5:30 per mile for a marathon. Like if you can throw down, like get in like the low fours and the mid fours while you're like running 1 mile, like you'll have that like speed base. So all you need to do is build up your stamina, and then you can like start hanging with them, which I
Yeah.
think is
Yeah, no, of course. Yeah, I feel that. Like that's kind of my plan too. Like I'm just enjoying collegiate running right now, like the shorter distances, and then eventually, like I don't plan on jumping straight into marathoning. Like I'll like kind of like start with like half marathons at first, like get like a couple half marathons under my belt. Hopefully, I mean my goal would be to like like start working my way, and then like hopefully like run half marathons for like maybe a year or something like that, and like hopefully get down to like sub 110 if I can, and then like build from there, and I just keep building to the point where like I feel like okay, like I'm ready now for like my first marathon, and then just kind of go from there. Because like you
Yeah,
said,
dude.
like once you get older, like definitely like you could run marathons once you're like older, like in your late 20s, 30s, even your 40s, and still run like respectable times in the marathon. But in the 5K is like completely different. Like once you get in your 40s, like yeah, you might be able to still throw down like a fast like 5K, but like just know that those young guys are gonna be whooping your ass.
Yeah, that is kind of true. And it's funny, even with the marathon now, like the best marathoner in the world, like, or one of them, Eliud Kipchoge, is around like 35, 36 right now.
Yeah,
And he's in his prime, you know?
yeah. Exactly. Yeah. So I'm in no rush. I definitely do want to get into marathons because there's always been something like I've never done one before. So like I feel like most runners are always like, oh, I want to do at least one marathon just to say I did a marathon. But for me, it's more than that. Like I actually want to like be competitive and like try to like do, like accomplish big things like in the marathon. Like I mean, just looking at Coach Weiss, like her qualifying for like the Olympic trials like twice and like 2 years in a row, like that's impressive. And like that's like something that like that would be like a big goal of mine would be to like once I get into marathons, hopefully like I mean I know like for me like it's some fast times I would have to throw down, but like you said like we talked about like as long as you've like put in the work, like anything's possible.
Oh yeah, for sure. And you'll notice too another difference, and I guess maybe other runners could speak on this behalf as well. But once you get up in distance, I guess also like with the half and the full, it definitely gets more mental. And
Yeah.
some people side of it, but some people don't. But you got to really like have that good mindset, like even when you're far into the race, to still like not even to go and like slow down or even like just stay like locked in place, but to like still be able to have those surges. Whereas normally you just be able to like run a couple miles and surge, as opposed to like running like 8 to 9 before you finally start making like your first move and everything. So it does have a lot with just being disciplined, and then definitely more patience, and then also just the just getting used to like running those longer distances. But then honestly, if you train accordingly though, there shouldn't be a problem with anything if you really plan it ahead and you get some friends and you run the right amount of mileage. Like the only thing that's basically is ever going to prevent you from success is you.
Yeah.
So you have the power to do whatever you believe you can.
Yes, sir. All right, so before we close out this call, I like to do a little Q&A with all my guests where I just shoot them some quick questions and you just give me your answer. Are you ready?
Sure, I'm
All right.
ready.
Favorite trainers to train with?
So this one's interesting. I know that a bunch of other people have said pegs, and I do want to get a pair. And after actually from listening to this, you sold me on wanting to get a pair of pegs.
Let's
But
go.
I'm actually gonna go with the Hoka Bondi 6.
Dude, Hokas are on the come up. No lie. Like, I feel like, especially like while during my last year at GCU, like everyone started wearing Hokas. Like now, like I have teammates here at Tampa that like a bunch of teammates that wear Hokas. Like Hokas are low key like popular. Like I feel like maybe like 2 3 years ago, like everyone would look at Hokas and be like, what the? Everyone was like Nike pretty much like 2 3 years ago. But now like there's like a lot of different like shoe brands are kind of like making their way up, and Hoka's definitely like up there for sure.
Oh yeah, and people, they're nice shoes because they do have a rocker in there, which is pretty interesting. So when you strike the midfoot, it'll give you like an extra little push up. And I know they're like notorious for being shoes that are like a little I guess they're pretty like big shoes, and that they have a couple inch on them that make you like look a little taller. And the boys would mess with me and they say they look like moon shoes,
Yeah,
but
that's what we used to say to people at GCU because they're super bulky and like people walk up to practice and be like, oh here comes the astronauts with their damn moon shoes.
That's so funny. And if you've seen them before, or if you want to like look up, or any of the people listening, if you want to look up a picture, they actually do kind of look like shoes that would use to walk on the moon. But they're like super nice, and they're some pretty cool shoes, especially when like if you live somewhere where it rains a lot, other people are like, oh man, my shoes are wet, and you have that extra inch, and you're like, oh no, my shoes are fine. Like it's just like running normal, or any sort of dirt, or even like if you're someone who runs on the road a lot. like because with other shoes with not a lot of like protection underneath, sometimes it could lead to more injuries. So if you're like a huge road runner, these will provide the cushion support you need to take away some of the shock from your knees.
All right, so next question. I'm gonna put you on the spot with this one. Favorite Coral Reef teammate? You better be careful with this one.
Oh, bro, I don't know if I can do that one, bro. I've like, bro, all the boys are super cool. Man, do I have to choose just one? I
Yeah,
gotta.
do it. Just do it.
You know what? Oh man, I'm gonna get I'm gonna get roasted by the other guys for sure. But you know what? I'm gonna go with Austin for a specific reason, and the reason is that like when I first started running, like he was really the one to go and to like show me the rope and stuff, and like Hunter was there too, but he would always be like giving little like piece of advice. And like our coach when we started, he was like he's still a great guy. I'm in contact with him till this day, but he wasn't, or he like was really new to running, but he was just a really good like workout training coach. Like he's super into fitness. This guy's absolutely like jacked, like super cool guy, but he just didn't know like a ton about like running specifically. And like Austin just coming down from like our old coach and just getting like taught by like Kurt, Cameron, Carlin, like he like knew like what to do and like when to do it, like when to go for long runs and like what like shoes you should wear and like how you should position your body when you're running and like all that. And I feel like he led me into this. And I can tell you for sure, I'm definitely getting roasted for this at the end by like probably like Hunter and Carlin and like Cam. But you know, like it is what it is. I went with him for that specific reason. But like, but honestly, all those guys are super cool. And I ran with most of them. And honestly, like I don't think I could have done like or could have been where I am today without all of them.
Yeah, no, I feel the same way. I mean, like me and Carlin were teammates like 2 out of my 4 years at FGCU, and then the last 2 years, me and Austin were teammates, and they're definitely guys who like pushed me to be better and like made the sport fun for me, and they're like guys who like I can call brothers like for the rest of my life. All right, favorite race distance. I mean, you've done it all. You've ran the 800, you've ran the marathon. Which one's your favorite in that spectrum?
Ooh, interesting. So I would say one of my favorite races is probably the 10K. And I find this because it's just such a cool middle ground of that. Like, it's not necessarily like who's like the fastest. Like there's that point to where like in a 5K, you can kind of go out. And if you die out, you can still kind of make it like do pretty well. But the 10K, you really just have to be super smart and super disciplined and to be able to like have those like good 5K splits in between. And it's not too long either. So where it's like to me, like I really enjoy that distance. And even after like the marathon, I thought, oh, my body's super tired. Like it's only a month after the marathon. I'm going to try to like race this 10K again. And I didn't think I would be in like the best shape to go do it. But I went out and I finally like just from like last year I ran I believe it was the Winter Park 10K, and I did that a previous year before. And I ended up like really going out there and crushing it. I think I hit like a 34 or 44 like on the road, which was super nice for me because I was really looking to get to that sub 35 barrier. So that was really nice. And yeah, so I really enjoy that race distance. I think it's a pretty interesting distance.
You know, 34:44 was actually like a really good time. Like my first 10K ever, I ran 34:55. So like that's definitely like, especially on the roads, like that's definitely like really good, really good. All right, so let's see. What's your favorite, like what's your go-to restaurant?
Go-to restaurant. Ooh, so right now I would say, you know what, I'm gonna go with Chipotle, and this is the reason why. So I'm gonna let you guys in on a little secret here. So in this part isn't the secret. So I'm vegetarian, but what I do is when I go to Chipotle is that you can order a bowl, right? And then you can ask for the like little pita on the side, or I guess not pita, the wrap on the side. And you can always get double rice, double beans. And I hope Chipotle's not listening to me because I probably, get upset. I'll normally do that, and I'll go, and so I have this like whole bowl, and then you have your wrap, and the whole bowl is pretty filled up because you got like double rice and double beans. You put on whatever other things you want, and then you only end up paying it's around like $7. pull up the wrap yourself. So
Yeah.
you have a whole wrap and you eat that for one meal, and then you still have like half your bowl for another meal. So basically you like say, and it's so much food, and some people can even make it last like 3 meals. And actually, I just did that today. So you can have like 2 separate meals. So those people who eat like a lot, I know a lot of runners, like you burn so many calories and you just can inhale like everything. So this is like a cool thing to really get like 2 like big solid meals out of like one thing. It just shows how you can like think smart and then still like not pay that much and still eat healthy.
Yeah, no, I like it. I agree. I love Chipotle, and I'm gonna tell you right now, my podcast is not that big yet, so I don't think Chipotle is listening. So I think your secret is safe, and they won't ban you from Chipotle.
I hope they do too, so you can get that sponsorship. You feel me? We gotta out there.
All right. What's like? Give me like one of your biggest pet peeves.
Ooh, that is an interesting one. My biggest pet peeve is, I guess it would be when people like, if you like, or someone in class would like have a pen and they'll just keep like clicking it over and over again.
Oh.
I do it. It doesn't bother me, but when some people do it, I'm just like, you got to stop that like right now. Like, especially when it's
You would hate me then. You would hate me. I'm definitely a pen clicker. I'm like a pen clicker, and like my leg like just like be like shaking and twitching. I'm one of those. I'd be like looking at the clock, like, oh my god, dude, is this class over yet?
Yeah, it's a little ironic because I'm someone that's very like twitchy too, and it's hard for me to like stay in like one place for like a long period of time.
All right, so then last question. Give me favorite spot to run in Miami, and then favorite spot to run in Central Florida.
Ooh, okay, that's a good question. I like that. So I would say favorite place to run in Miami. And this place, even with COVID, like people were still like making adjustments, were still able to come, and that would be in front of this place called Pinecrest Gardens. We have a little
PJ, baby.
yes, oh yeah, you know about that.
Yes,
So
sir.
like PJ, and the reason why that is because it used to be the old Parrot Jungle in Miami, and so what we do is we'd run from there and go across this little bridge and then go through what some people call the bunny hole. And then that leads on to, if you're from Miami, you know where this is, but it leads on to Old Cutler, which could take you down to Coco Plum Circle. And on that, there's a whole like little, it's not a trail, but there's just like a little, like, I guess like road, like sidewalk though. There's a pretty big like road sidewalk there. So for everybody, and this is the meetup spot I was referencing earlier with like all the high school teams, like a lot of people go there and they either start from one end and come down, or they start from the PJ end and then go all the way down to Coco Plum Circle. So that's a super nice run. That's definitely one of my go-tos. I live pretty close by, so it's just super easy for me.
And then what about in Central Florida? I feel like I know your answer.
Yeah, so you do, and I mean, a lot of people know about this place, and I got to go with Claremont on this one.
There we go. It's a classic, baby.
Dude, it's just, oh my God, there's so many like people who like come to like Claremont just for that run. It's super nice, and like I really enjoy like getting that like hill training in, just being on clay, not having to run on road all the time, so you can like take that shock of the ground a little easier. And it gets so much fun too if you're like on that long run, you're just talking with friends, it goes by so quickly. It's like you didn't even know, like do it or anything.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree. Like when you have a good group out there, it can go by so fast.
Oh yeah, I know you. I gotta like link with you when you come back with that huge. Or I know you have like a pretty good sized like group of people go out there.
Yeah, for sure. Whenever I'm back down in Orlando, I'll definitely like hit you up for sure.
Yeah, and like with all those like those college runs that everybody's squatted up, especially when it gets to like if it's around like 5 to 10 or even like more than 10, like it's just like you just feel like you're just with a wave of people, and it just feels like you're just hanging out with people at that point.
Yeah, it doesn't even feel like you're running.
Oh no, it just feels like you're literally just like talking with friends, and like either like meeting people or like talking with people you already know. And then once you like have like know them and have good conversations with them, like all of a sudden you're already done with your run, and you already have come around like a full circle.
Yep. Yeah, it's so beautiful, Claremont, man. Well, Running Man Steve, my boy, I appreciate you for coming on. Honestly, dude, like keep doing what you're doing, keep being yourself, keep being positive, keep killing it, keep training, like keep like I don't even know what else to say, man. Like just all the things you've been accomplishing. Like I love seeing people like succeed and seeing people accomplish like big things, like writing your book, like running fast times, like meeting new people in the running community. Like I love it all for you, dude. Like just keep it up. Like you have a big fan and supporter right here forever, and I much love, brother. I appreciate you for being on here.
I support your whole journey too. Stay positively powerful.
Yes, sir. Appreciate you, brother.